Good afternoon, and welcome to another insulting version of Diatribes from the Voice of Doom. Now, here's your invective and insolent host, Voice of Doom. Hello. Okay, I guess I'll do another one because something cropped up that deserves my comment, and I'm going to dispense with my usual gregarious, rose-colored attitude and get a little bit insulting and a little bit irritated because I'm really getting more and more sick of the existence of Petri dish. But that's not going to be my main subject today. He's a peripheral impetus for everyone else to be at each other's throats. Now, when I was married, my wife liked to watch this old medium called television, which I do not watch per se. And she liked to watch her shows, and she was kind of middle right in her politics. She was certainly a realist, and she was not, even though she was Mexican, Indian, and Chinese, she did not fall in line with the marginalized people of what used to be this country. But that's as maybe. She didn't care for the police just because she didn't like being reprimanded. She didn't like being told that she had any faults. And when you're pulled over by the cops, then you gotta face it. You can't just run away or just come back with, gaslighting. But she'd watched various shows now, knowing full well that if I say anything about anything, I will have my head ripped off. Sometimes I just couldn't help myself. I had to say, how can you watch this garbage? If she was watching MSNBC or CNN or this other show. And she would get mad at me and rip my head off and then say, I like to get both sides of the story and all this other crap. And we'd argue for a few minutes and then I'd walk away. But she watched this show, which I like to call the vile, inhuman, evil Wretches acronym, The View. Now, before I lambaste them and tear them 5 new ones, I'll just go over a little bit of background information like I like to do. Created by B. Walters in 1997. She was a landmark journalist of, I guess she'd be called a woman. I don't know what you call her in this day and age, but she was a groundbreaking female journalist. Fine. She created this show by women for basically women. I don't know what it's for now, but she created it. And I would imagine that she was on the liberal side of the spectrum, just by my years of listening to her. But she was back in the old school days when you didn't wear your politics out on your sleeve. So I can't say for sure, but I bet that she was a classical liberal. She is probably spinning. She probably hasn't stopped spinning in her sarcophagus for the last few years since her demise. By seeing what her creation had become. It's become a Frankenstein's monster. Okay. Current hosts, Bill Joy Behard. I already did a little background on her, but basically born Josephine Victoria Ochuto, born in 1942, so come on. getting ancient. Twice married, divorced. Married from 65 to Joe Behar, divorced in 91. Married to Steve Janowitz in 2011, one child. Thank God for that. Catholic upbringing and a comedian. I don't see anything funny about her whatsoever. Looked at her resume. Been on some really forgettable movies and mostly playing herself in cameos. I don't think she's funny. Karen Johnson, born Whoopi Goldberg, born Karen Johnson, 1955. So even though she looks like an ancient relic, she's only 4 years older than I am. First husband, 73 to 79. Second, 86 to 88. Third husband, 94 to 95. Two partners. First from 80 to 85. Second, 95 to 2000. Frank Langella. Saw him in Dracula. It's a pretty good movie years ago. I guess she's been a spinster since 2000 for obvious reasons. Now, I already did something on Whoopi, and all the rest of the libs that I said are very talented when it comes to their craft: acting, comedy, producing, directing. I gave props to many dyed-in-the-wool libs to the max because I'm fair. And I will give credit where credit's due. I said I really enjoy everything by whatever his name is. Baldwin, Alec. He does good work. I gave props to the young Robert De Niro. Genius at acting. I gave props to Karen Johnson, and I gave props to Madonna because I gave my reasons for why I admire them as performers. And if you want to see that, I think it was called Wokesters Eat Themselves, if you want to go back to my earlier stuff. Sarah Haynes, born 1977, left-leaning moderate. Ana Violeta Navarro Cardenas, born 1971. I think she's the token gopper, but she's a gopper in name only, a gyno. But she might not be the token. It might be Alyssa Farah Griffin, born 1989. So now you're talking about youngsters that were born long after I graduated from college. So I find it hard to give them any credence. But probably the most qualified to be on, a talk show discussing politics. Because she was a gopper spokesperson. And I guess she worked for Orangey for a while, and then she turned on him over the January 6th so-called insurrection. Married since 2021, so we'll see how that goes. The vile, inhuman, evil Wretches won 31 daytime Emmys for outstanding information and outstanding presentation and whatever. Now, daytime Emmys, it's a daytime talk show for women because they live in 1955 when women stayed at home and did their housework and turned the television set on to watch their stories and their programs. So they thought, let's do a daytime so-called news commentary panelist discussion with 5 shrews that cater to what used to be women. So that's fine. Alumnus, I'll name a few well-known people that were hosts on the show. Rosie O'Donnell, a shrew. Rosie Perez, I don't know. Raven Simone, she was on Cosby. God knows what happened to her on that show, but she became a lesbian. Candace Cameron Bure, I think she might have been good. I like her. She was on Full House. Meghan McCain, a rhino, a very good spokesman for the other side because she couldn't stand orangey. So that's just a rundown of some information. Now I'll tell my comments. Petri dish is one of the biggest impunicrits in the history of what used to be this planet. I'm a family man. I'm going to bring back normalcy and decency to the White House after this madness. I have 6 grandchildren. I'm not going to acknowledge the grandchild of the loins of my blood relative son as being related to me. Now, that's starting to get on people's nerves, and even the lefties are saying that that's not right, especially inclusiveness and how dare you, you old, miserable relic of the past who will not acknowledge an illegitimate grandchild. Okay, so he's evil, he's a demon. He should be dealt with as such, but nobody's going to. Let time run its course. He will live trillions of lifetimes in misery in the world of hell, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. So he will be punished, and I'm not going to have anything to do with it. But that was the situation. Now, there was trials about child support, which this miserable offspring of Petri dishes was even denying that the kid was, and then they proved that it was his. And he said, well, it was just a one-night stand. Well, he took care of things. He took care of the pregnancy insurance, and then he's paying child support. And I guess, first of all, something like this woman, I don't know her name, saying that her daughter should share the Biden name. Why would anybody want that? I wouldn't want my personal life condition or soul or spirit or body connected in any way with the name Biden. I would run from that. If I was the other 6 grandchildren, I would change my name immediately upon when it's legal to do so. Or become a cat or a dog or a wolf or a non-binary or a gender fluid or a dual spirit or a whatever. I wouldn't want that last name. I wouldn't want anything to do with that last name. Not even by marriage or once removed or twice removed. But little issues. Now, the no-account son decided to compensate for the illegitimate offspring by giving some of his priceless artwork to the woman that he impregnated, which is only worth money if it's used for money laundering purposes. They're not worth anything just because his signature's on it. They're only worth something if it's a means of trade between Chinese nationals or, who knows, Ukrainian oligarchs. Yes, we will give you $75,000 for this piece of crap. And whatever you do with that money, that's your business. Okay, it's just a legitimate way to launder money and to pay soft money and bribery. But does the View take the high road? No, that's none of our business. Why should we get into the personal lives? It has nothing to do with Petri dish. It's not Petri dish's kid. It's the son's kid, and it's not our business to get into their personal lives or judge. And then one person says, well, we all know that if it was Trump who was in this situation, we'd be talking about it till the end of time, till the universe is gone, contracts again into a singularity. We would be talking about it. And I never caught the end of it, what they said to that, but I would imagine that Karen Johnson probably said, we got to cut to a commercial now. So I can't stand the vile, inhuman, evil wretches. And I didn't even talk too much about them. I think you can draw your own conclusions. They're demonic. They're evil. They worship Satan in their spare time. And if they don't, they're doing his bidding anyway. Many of these shrews, these succubi, profess to be of the Catholic faith, which is totally a ridiculous thing to profess to. There's very few Catholics that adhere to the principles of the foundations of their credo, including the Pope. They don't adhere to their own admonishments because they want to be inclusive and they don't want to judge anybody. So, Joy Behar, otherwise known as Josephine Victoria Occhiuto, grew up a Catholic, and so did one of the other ones, Sonny Austin. Asuncion Cummings, born 1968. But I don't think that the kind of Catholics that say all life is sacred and women should not willy-nilly use abortion as a means of birth control. No. I'm sure they're totally on board with the reproductive rights of all what used to be women, including trans men who used to be women, who can now get an abortion. So I didn't lambaste them as much as I wanted to. I think they're just not worth it to me. They're miserable wretches, and they're all going to suffer, even the tokens, coppers, because if they were really, going to talk about the other side, they should really rip 5 or 6 new ones into Petri Dish's ass. But they don't. They're very gentle. Meghan McCain, come on. Okay. So, maybe I wasn't as insulting as I thought I'd be. I'll try to do better next time, but I wanted to not have to even discuss that disgusting idiot show full of brain-dead morons and seals in the audience clapping for everything that they say in support of some vile satanic entity occupying the White House and, insulting at every turn Orangey, no matter what he does, stymieing the progress of what used to be this country by doing that, and then propping up some pile of goo that we call the commander-in-chief. So I'll leave it there. I could go on and on. I don't have that much shit in the top of my head to be insulting, but I'm sure I could. And it's getting too long. So have a good day and enjoy this one. I think a lot of people will find it entertaining. And thanks, Nick, for your comments. I want to mention that. It keeps me going because nobody else really pays attention to me. All right. See you, everybody. And enjoy the vile, inhuman, evil wretches this afternoon. Goodbye.